Shalom Yeladim. Today we're going to tell the story of Megillat Ruth. This is the story of a wonderful woman. Her name was Ruth, and we read her story on Chag Shavuot. Are you ready? A long time ago in Eretz Yisrael, there was a family. In the family there was an Abba, and his name was Elimelech. And Ima, her name was Naomi, and two sons, Machlon and Kilyon. Elimelech was a very important man. He had a lot of money, and people respected him a lot. Naomi, we can tell from her name, because her name means pleasant, sweet, that she had the most wonderful personality. She was kind and she was giving, and she took care of her friends and she took care of her family, but always with a smile. She was Naomi. She was Naim. She was pleasant to be with, fun to be with. And their two sons, Machlon and Kilyon, lived together with them. Everything was great until slowly, the people who were living in Eretz Yisrael forgot to give derech eretz to their teachers and to their rabbis. Can you imagine? To the Talmidei Chachamim of the time. Hashem was not very happy with their behavior. He knew that he would have to send them a reminder to change their ways. So you know what he did? He stopped the rain from falling. No rain. And when there isn't any rain, then the food cannot grow. And if there's no food, then everybody becomes really hungry. Well, that's what happened. There was no rain and there was no food, and people were very hungry. Elimelech was a very rich man, and he had a lot of food that he could have shared. But he decided to be stingy. He decided not to do chesed, oy vey. And he decided not to help his brothers and sisters, the Jewish people. He was going to pack his suitcases, and he was going to take his family and leave Eretz Yisrael. Can you imagine leaving Eretz Yisrael because you don't want to do chesed? Wow, that's not a good thing. Where did Elimelech decide to go to? He chose a place that also was not very good with chesed. He chose a place called Moab. How does Morah Honig know that that's a place that doesn't do chesed? Because many years before, when Moshe Rabbeinu was taking the Jewish people to Eretz Yisrael, he wanted to pass through Moab. He wanted to go through their country to make a shortcut to get to Eretz Yisrael. Now, he wasn't going to bring so many people through the cities. He first asked permission. Moshe Rabbeinu went to the king of Moab and said, "May I please bring my people through your city? We're just going to pass through so we can get to Eretz Yisrael." But the king of Moab said no. Then Moshe Rabbeinu said, maybe he wants us to pay him. So he went back to the king and said, "Your Highness, maybe you think that we are going to ruin your streets or take your food. We're going to pay you, and we will go through your cities. So you will make money if you let us come through your Moab." But guess what? The king of Moab said no. Then Moshe Rabbeinu said, okay, you don't want us to go through your cities, but can we go behind? Can we go in your fields behind the cities where no one will notice us? We'll just go on our way. And for no good reason, the king of Moab said no. Well, when that happened, Hashem said, you know what? I don't like the middos of the people of Moab. I don't want you to marry from the people of Moab. They don't have very good middos. But that only is the men. But I'm sure if the ladies of Moab would have been asked, they would have said, sure, you can go through my city. So the men of Moab may not marry any girl from Klal Yisrael because we don't like their midot. But the girls from Moab, they may marry when they become Yehudiot, when they become full Torah Jews. They may marry men, boys from Klal Yisrael. So when Elimelech went to Moab to live with his family, he knew that Moab was not a very good place to live. He knew that they didn't have good midot. But he wanted to run away. He wanted to run away from his responsibility, from taking care of his people. When he got to Moab, Hashem decided to make a punishment to correct that mistake. And poor Elimelech passed away. He didn't do the right thing. Naomi was left with her two sons, Machlon and Kilion. Well, they had a lot of animals. They started doing the things that they would always do. And soon it was time for Machlon and Kilion to get married. And so they married two princesses from the country of Moab. One girl, her name was Ruth, and the other one was Orpah. And they became the wives of Machlon and Kilion. But Hashem was still not happy with them. Hashem really wanted them to go back to Eretz Yisrael. First, Hashem gave them a hint, and all their animals died. And they still didn't take the hint. They still didn't go back to Eretz Yisrael. And after that, Hashem said, I'm sorry. And Machlon and Kilion passed away as well. Whoa. All that were left were the ladies, the girls. Naomi and Ruth and Orpah. Naomi called her girls together and she said, I don't have any more sons to marry. You are young. You should go back to the palace. You will have a wonderful life. You will find princes to marry. You will have children and beautiful families. You should go back to your people. I'm going back to Eretz Yisrael, to my people. It has been way too long. I don't belong in Moab. I need to go back to Eretz Yisrael. Well, Orpah thought about it for a minute. She felt bad that she would have to go away from Naomi. She loved her. But she decided to go back to the palace. And she turned her neck. She turned around. And she went back to the palace where she came from. Do you know what Orpah means? It's amazing. Orpah means Oref, the back of the neck. We know what Orpah did by the name that she was called. Her name was Orpah. Because she turned herself, we saw the back of her neck because she walked away and she went back to her palace. But Ruth, on the other hand, she said to Naomi, "No, I don't want to go back to the palace. I want to stay with you. I want your Hashem to be my Hashem. I want your Shabbat to be my Shabbat. I want your kosher to be my kosher. I want to be a Yehudiya, a Jewish girl who follows the Torah, who believes in Hashem, just like you." Well, Naomi looked at Ruth and she said, "You know, it's not easy to be a Yehudiya. You have to learn a lot about mitzvot. You have to believe only in Hashem. No more dollies, no more idols. You have to believe only in Hashem. There are many things that you may not do anymore, and lots of things that you must do." But every time Naomi tried to convince Ruth not to become a Yehudiya, Ruth just said, "No, I want to become a Yehudiya. I want to come with you to Eretz Yisrael. Please take me with you. I will take care of you, and I will learn to be a Yehudiya just like you."